like the most simple way of saying it, where it's like young king, right? But just child king. I always thought that was a bit of a banter one. Some really good names in the Asian scene these days.
Oh, absolutely. They're always a joy to cast. Also, the style of CS is why I find a lot of Asian teams are just super aggressive. It's so fun to watch. However, we are finally live in our first game of today against Heroic and HAVU. And the first point of contact is Yuli taking the head of Nerds down an underpass and running away with it, giving the Finns a nice advantage. And he manages to escape as well into Con.
Ooh, shush. Pulls out the Glock on the back of the bomb site and does get an entry towards B. So this pistol round looking like a really risky predicament for HAVU. One that seems to have already slipped through the fingertips. Otond, he's waiting to strike back. Doesn't really look like there's much to be done here, though. If they can't clear their angles instantly, you're going to get ruined from the side. You've got two players back towards the bench. They can bait for one another. Shush just has to hold the line, but the entries are pretty crisp. They make some good moves, Vince, and they're clapping back. It's all down to Nikados.
Very impressive stuff. Nikados stuck behind the fan. They don't know he's here. He's going to get the drop on the first, looking for that second as well. Takes the head of the second player, and he may not go down with the ship. No, he doesn't. He takes Yuli with him. That's ridiculous from Nikados. They don't check the angle, and they get massively punished.
Oh, my. A round that exchanged hands multiple times in the space of about 15 seconds there. The setup was really clean. Heroic. They had a good grasp on it, but HAVU's brute force works wonders for them. In the end, it doesn't matter, though. It amounts to nothing as Nikados on a pistol round goes big. He does these. He has these rounds, Vince, where it's a P250, a Deagle. It just feels like he gets in there and goes absolutely nasty. So a nice way to kick things off. T-side start with a dream there for Heroic. They're going to be smiling into this one.
Yeah, considering they were just trailing that entire round, first pick down an underpass, full circle, and Nikados with that P250 showing us again why, for quite a while, he's been, I would say, a bit of a slept-on player. I mean, he's had his flowers a couple of times where people were impressed with his gameplay. Oh, shush. Oh, dear. Straight up 1v1. Loses out against USP, but so does Nerds. Not like this, Heroic. You just got a sick clutch. Don't lose to USPs.
The spirit of NACS still lives on. You can just hear the reverberations of Steel and Dazed in the background, furious about the way this round's already going. But at the minute, Heroic do have a bit of oomph left, bit of firepower to play with. Use that range advantage, though, because you've already given up such a big leg into the round for HAVU to work with. Problem is, rotating through towards window does not work well for the CTs. They begin to crumble when it matters most. You're outnumbered now, 3-2. They've got the angles on lockdown and the bomb planted. Banjo walking back over with a USP. Might just be worth scarpering with that AK. That's if he even can get out, Vince. Kickstand's clearing towards deep CT. Finds the first, snapshot back onto the second as well. And they're debating if they've got time for this now.
Yeah, I think saving that AK is probably the play, but they're going in. They want to try and test Nikados again. They have no kit between the two of them, so they need this kill quickly. You know, so just gonna wait this one out. He knows it's USPs. He knows the chance of the kit is pretty much zero, and so he's done his job. Takes the frag, backs away. I've got to say, Yuli in that round, he only gets one kill. He landed so many dinks, though, with that USP. Like, this guy's pistol aim is pretty ridiculous. You can see there, 169 ADR after 2 rounds. Even though they've lost both of them. Very impressive. A bit of egg on the face of Heroic, I think I have to say there, Jacky. Like, you've lost multiple 4 AK/Mac 10s in a round against full USPs, 2 trades, 1v1 straight up head-to-head. They lost against the USP. I mean, that's not acceptable. And if that continues, HAVU are going to punish you now that the main rifles are in play.
All right, it's balmy, mate. Absolutely wild that it got as close as it did. Both of these rounds have been by no means anything near squeaky clean. They're going to go for a bit of a speedy play into B, though. Straight out, Tessus testing the waters. Nice smoke to block off the shop so they can't take your blocks off. And Slowy, he waits close underneath the window. Pushing back out towards L block now as well. So Yuli's got a better angle to work with here. Looking into apartments, seeing if they're pushing their way down towards the site. Trying to play with the time, and they're going to eat shrapnel, Vince. Naughty nade round the corner.
brutal. Kickstand down to 37. Just off that basis, Shush takes point. The spray is good from Yuli, but he's traded out, and suddenly, out of nowhere, only Airax remains. That looked, for all intents and purposes, that the CTs had that round on lock. But the B site has crumbled, capitulated. Smoke just dwindling away, so Airax has even more angles to try and watch out for, but he'll take the optimistic approach. It's more opportunities for him to exploit. He'll have to try and expunge Nertz on the bench if he wants to clutch this one. First kill goes his way. Not sure as to where the second player is, but Airax with the spray is nearly on point. Nertz down to 34, throws in the flash effects. Airax, not at all. And so he can keep his aim trained on bench. Well played to Airax with that 1v2 clutch. Clinical, and HAVU get on the board. There is a post plant in, but Heroic are going to be struggling.
And that sentence really reigns true for what we've seen over the course of all of these rounds. All three that have been played out up to this point. It feels like Heroic, although they've been able to secure 2 of them off the back of the pistol, it still looked rough for them. It has by no means been easy. And again there, HAVU still somehow slivering their way out on top to claim their first. It was interesting as well, just how quickly everyone started to fall down. They had a really good grasp on it. The nade looked like it was the set piece to make all the difference, make it so easy to blow down Heroic, but it was a bit of a back and forth. Nertz lurking this time round towards the ramp. They've got deep control already though. Banjo just playing in the corner. He can play anti if he wants to. You've got room to trade on this, so even if Nertz finds the entry, you should be able to get a quick pick off. Banjo suspecting a flash coming round soon, tries to play anti, but the raw fight from Yuli does the damage. And Nikodos might not expect this now, Vince. At least recovers the rifle.
Does check the angle, but still gets splattered by the MP9 up close. Slowing, dangerous game of cat and mouse behind the smoke, but so far this round is falling nicely into the pocket of the Finns. Although there's some weakened players out there, Tessis and Kixan have a huge task ahead of them. Only a Molotov with 2 Galils to play with, and they're a bit isolated. Yes, they're next to each other on the map, but different layers of verticality, and Tessis is going to have to fight his way out of this position. Not going to happen. 4 players remain on HAVU, and they break down the economy of Heroic. This is a really solid start if you're on the CT side. You're going to be feeling pretty damn good about how these last few rounds have gone.
Yeah, this bodes really well. Keeping it close on either the rounds they've lost. Looking pretty in the ones they've been able to pick up. And at this point, you should finally have a freebie on the cards. For Heroic, basically nothing to work with other than what they spawned into the game with here. Just the Glocks and a single Deagle. Nikodos, he is naughty with the weapon. He loves the 50 cal Vince. We've already seen him hitting some big worldies on the pistol already into this game, but no one gives him that opportunity at B. He had a good spawn for it, takes the initial peek, but they've got his number, they've naded him, and aren't going to face into that Deagle again. He's given up the game with the audio cue, so they back off. Bomb's going to start to rotate on the back of Nikodos. And they try to set themselves up for what appears to be a split push onto mid here, through underpass and out middle.
Yeah, Yuli needs to tread carefully. Even though they'll have a good idea as to the finances being in a rough position, if he gets caught in too many angles and spoiled for choice, exactly. Swarming is a real problem. A 2-for-2 trade. Banjo knows Nertz round the corner, gets him, but Nikodos. You mentioned he's quite the beast with the 50 cals. Whether it's an AWP or a Deagle, a real threat. Can he go in for another clutch? We saw the clutch with the P250. And now with the AK, he has a bit of space to work with. No armor, though, so aim punch will be a problem for Airax when he gets round this corner. Does he have the clarity to check this angle? Well, he wasn't going to be given the choice after he gets peeked at range from Slowy. And HAVU do take their third. It's a great cost, though. It's going to keep their economy a little bit at arm's reach. They're still fine, of course, but at least Heroic are fighting in these rounds, Jacky. They're not going down without any casualties being expended.
It's wild to me, Vince, that Yuli still got that kill at top mid. After being pushed towards underpass, it was such a delayed response from Heroic to fight from middle. So by the time they peeked out, Yuli hits a blinding shot, flicks up, and still takes down one, just as he's brought down by the Scythe. Crazy, crazy outcome into that one. Mid-control, not as squeaky clean as you might like for Heroic, and confidence is building for HAVU. They've already got control outside of B apartments. Nertz is here, swift with it, and absolutely sick as he lands that shot onto Arax, denies the push, and gets a free bit of control, resulting in this double rotation back towards B. So HAVU spreading themselves thin with still 1 minute and 10 on the clock.
Smoke's also being deployed down on Con and Window respectively. It's going to make HAVU feel a little bit claustrophobic. Nertz in the meanwhile though is pushing into the apps. 2 players there, Yuli and Slowy to deal with him. Oh, I thought for a second he was going to get both. They lined up perfectly for him. Tons of damage to Yuli, so he has to vacate the premises. He's been spotted, low HP, bested, and that's B site right for the taking. HAVU's money. It does afford them a buy into the next round. But they can't justify a 2v4 with an AWP in the hands of Otto. He just wants to hold on to this. So Heroic brute force their way onto B, get some more success after a couple of rounds in a row that were going horribly against them. Nice work there with the entries. And it was that moment, I think, where Slowy and Yuli just lined up for one another on the B apps. That was pretty much the game-breaking moment, or the round-breaking moment, I should say. Plenty of rounds left, of course, in this best of 1.
With how our games usually go, definitely a lot more rounds to come, Vince. This is only the starter, right? This is like the little prawns that you get at the beginning. The real meal is yet to come, as it's just tied up 3 rounds apiece here in the first half. And for HAVU, a lot of that firepower could come from this AWP. The fact that it's still in play and Oton has the scope to work with really could bail them out a bit. You know, CT side Mirage, it feels like the more scopes you pull out, the more band-aids you put on the problem to solve any issues. And other than finally losing that round, it's been looking pretty damn good for HAVU as well. So should be able to answer back pretty quickly into this one. Keep it close, keep it competitive at least. The AWP's going to go over towards mid with support of Slowy. Deep nade goes out to deny any sort of information. Ooh, ramp as well getting lit up by the nades. And they're there, sticking their noses in for info, Vince. Everyone heavily grouped, flashes over the top, and they want to go for an A play on this. Looks like they're going to try and hit them hard.
Very well timed count and smoke though onto ramp. I agree. It looked like they were going to push the button and get in there. Oh, did that just clip the side of the wall? I think it did. So unlucky from Otto. He would have had Testis dead to rights. That looked like centre mass. And instead it's Testis that comes out with the advantage. And that's the AWP down as well. Horrible moment for HAVU.
Oh dear. It's gone from bad to worse. Losing that contact play. At least the AWP was in a recoverable position. The scavenger, Arax, steals it back. Doesn't overstep the mark either. Smoke's going to dissipate soon. He's more worried about short, but they're coming up close, walking their way towards the apartments. Will he be the landlord? Can he deny them entry? Charge them rent on this one, make it very expensive. Flash round the corner, strikes on the first. Tessus running in towards his face, but all the damage is being done by the big scope. Finally a trade. Tessus tackles him, and they're left with 25 seconds to get the bomb down.
Honestly, that's about as good as Arax could have done in that position. He softened up another couple of players as well in terms of the utility count, but shush. On middle, will pounce in. So much damage done to the T's, but their resilience, their resolve is unmatched. And although Arax put in a heroic couple of kills, it won't be enough. And Heroic take the lead again, and in doing so, it's HAVU's turn to have to tap out of this, economically speaking, and just run through with some Deegs, maybe 5-7s. I'm not even sure they can afford that, to be fair. They've got a bit of round loss building up with 2 rounds, but oh man, their money is so low.
It's crazy, isn't it? Just how back and forth this game's been in terms of the rounds that are being won, going down to those 1v2s, those 1v1s. So you're just hemorrhaging money. It feels like you're never really able to find yourself in a good position in terms of the footing. Talking of footing, you had the boost down towards underpass and then a run boost coming out from the T's towards top mid. It's all a bit topsy-turvy, but it results in this being an opening pick for Nikados, as the scope will bite down on Slowy and leave HAVU with 4 players left. So For Heroic, the dream being, win this one cleanly. Or Vince, I might have spoke too soon. Airac strikes and does a lot of damage as well. Luckily enough, it is the one problem. Just a single blip, and they patch the rest of it back up and come back in, only forcing out one rebuy onto Nikodos. Not that bad. Far better there for Heroic to actually build a bit of money on their T side.
Indeed, we saw some rough rifling earlier on in the map when they lost 4 players against USPs. So I was thinking for a second that maybe history is going to repeat itself. Wasn't the case. We've had a bit of a tech issue here. Fingers crossed that will be good to jump back in as fast as possible. 5-3 the score, though. Just to give you guys an idea of what else is happening right now. Endpoint are beating Illin 5-4. Sinners are 5-4 behind against Vidar. Gucci Academy that we saw yesterday play pretty damn well. They're beating Space 6-3. I believe Team Space was the team that eliminated Bleed in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. 0-0 Nation beating Iklar 8-3. And then obviously we have our game here. So plenty of games going on at the same time, and most of them are looking pretty close.
A competitive round. Yeah, it's looking good, man. It's interesting as well, obviously, because of some of the top-heavy teams being knocked out a little bit earlier into this qualifier. The way the bracket has developed over the course of yesterday into today as well. Do wonder how 0-0 Nation have been playing. Having a look at that game, actually, at the minute, it's pretty dominant for them. Fasha seems to be having a good go of it. Sirison as well, dropping 14 frags. That's an interesting roster, the new 0-0 Nation. It's one that I'm curious to see how they do when given a bit of time. Kind of feels similar to sort of the idea that we've been getting with more of the OG projects recently, where you sort of pick up some of the players that feel like they could have high heights, but just haven't really been able to push it there just yet. JDC definitely got a lot of talent. Vladden as well seems like a great talent potentially for the future. So we'll see where that goes. Always a bit of endpoint in so many of these rosters as well. You see Bird from Sky floating around. Fasha, fair bit of ex-endpoint alumni all over the Counter-Strike scene these days, Vince. It feels like they've had their fingers in all the pies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, you mentioned JDC there. If I'm not mistaken, he used to play for Mouse, right?
Yeah,
a year or so ago. Like that kind of caliber of player that didn't quite make it at the sort of tier 2, even tier 1 bracket, but still tons of experience, a lot of ability and potential, which is always the key word with these players. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how some of these rosters go. And that was kind of one of the things we discussed on the first day, and we kind of touched on throughout these couple of qualifiers, is how exciting CS2 is right now in terms of the rosters. And you have a new generation of player coming through at the same time. You have kind of these younger guys, the 21 to 25 range, that maybe didn't make it the top level, but now get to try again in a slightly lesser team with slightly lesser competition, to show and try and build themselves back up to that level again. So I mean, CS2 is going to offer people a lot of opportunities in this kind of tier 2 sphere to see if the teams like 0-0 Nation can get it done. The OGs of this world that have had so many different rosters that you highlighted before. Really interested to see what happens. I'm not too surprised to see some of these teams making it nearly into the closed qualifiers. I say nearly, of course, because they've got to win their best of 1 and a best of 3. They're not there yet.
Yeah, still a little bit to go. You're almost there. Almost over the hedge. It's that best of 3 where it really does separate some of the newer rosters potentially as well. Because it is what it is in a best of 1. You can have a really good game, or you can have a very unlucky game, and it can slip away from you. So it kind of goes both ways. Whereas at least with the meat and potatoes of a best of 3, we get to see teams that have been able to maximize the limited amount of practice they've had. Because I think that's one of the big talking points as well, right? Is loads of these rosters haven't had very long. You're looking at, for some, maybe about a month of practice. For others, a couple of weeks, depending as well on when they got back into actually practicing after the player break. Because with the qualifiers starting quite early, I think even just a little bit before the player break usually is scheduled to finish due to the difference of the major dates now going into 2024. Some teams, I think, obviously probably didn't get that much practice in with whole new rosters as well. It's going to be a bit of a slog, bit of a grind to get your head screwed on and be able to really go the distance in a big old best of 3. So curious to see how things go. There's a good potential for some of these to actually be pretty tasty, mate, with the way this bracket's going. It is damn interesting for Gucci Gaming as well. Just the fact they even survived their matchup to make it this far, Vince, is a good testament to how much resilience they had. Because a lot of what we were seeing felt like there was such a high potential skill ceiling, but also a bit of panic, a bit of maybe inexperience creeping in some of those rounds where you really need to be composed to just close the game. And those closers are the hardest thing. They look like they're doing pretty well, though. Team Space at the minute, down by 4 rounds, it looks like.
Indeed, I'm kind of curious to know what the problem is as well on the server right now, because obviously, for those of you who don't know, we're not an official stream. We're doing this kind of off our own back and thoroughly enjoying it. It's been a lot of fun. We've got Jordan as our production, Misty, aka Misty, and Bastian, aka Unknown FME, as our fantastic spectator as well. So we're kind of out of the loop. We don't have any sort of access to the admins or any of the technical issues, so we're kind of in the same position as you guys, just kind of waiting and hoping that this game gets back live again. This could very well, you know, we're talking about pauses, and we've had quite a few delays over the last few days, Jacky, where, you know, when you're in the ascendancy, the driver's seat as Heroic R, you have like a lengthy pause like this. It can throw some players off their game, kind of throws you out of the rhythm of how things are going. So maybe this is HAVU's chance as well to elect themselves back into this one. They've got a bye coming up as well, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, no one likes to see a pause of this length. Nobody.
No, it throws you off, man. It does throw you off. It can be a bit hard to stop and start, especially when you're pretty late into the first half as well, right? Because you're going to go back live, you've got 4 rounds, then switch into your next half. So definitely makes a difference. If he keeps it, though, Vince, because it's always the problem these days. You can never really stick to what people buy, because they might always have a refund. I was going to say Oton had an org. Does look like we fixed whatever the issue was, though. They've run the match medic and got things reset back to the 9th round. Buys come back out, and Oton does go for it again. I like a bit of the org, Vince. I think CS2, Org and Krieg feels so damn good, because playing distance, playing angles where you're really far back, with the scope on that bad boy, that's the way to hold an angle. You know, people hate holding angles these days, CT side, but it just feels like you have to switch up how you're doing it. So I love a bit of the org. I think that's cool to see Oton doing it. We haven't had that many augers. I don't know where my Spartans have been, Vince.
Yeah, and honestly, it has been a while since the Org has been obviously like a tier 1 weapon. There was a time when the Krieg and the Org were just everywhere. And interesting enough, it was actually Ents, another Finnish team at the time, that really utilized and, dare I even say, exploited how powerful it was back in Katowice 2019 kind of time frame. So Otto deciding it's his turn to show us what he's capable of doing with this gun. The smoke is going to clear. Molotov tossed to the back of the boxes. That could be forced out the players. No, they're going to smoke it out. They know exactly what the plan was. Yuli, though, takes this opportunity, knowing that the smoke at the top is going to mess with the vision, just has a quick peek, gets his kill and backs away. A lot of damage in window as well. The Finns are hemorrhaging blood, but to be fair, they're keeping themselves in the ascendancy in this round.
For how rough it looked at the start, they've recovered at least. You've lost a lot of control in terms of the choke points, though. Connector has been completely claimed by Kixan. At least Banjo tucked in underneath has a bit of an angle to work with this, and his teammates protecting him if there's a wide swing round towards Palace. A lot of it just depends on the timing of the set pieces. When they go for this push, Kixan reads him like a book. The stopwatch works as he strikes on Banjo. Yuli falls as well, but Slowy has gone undetected. Ooh, the timing on the flank as well, Vince. You gotta feel for Arax. Loud feet, and the back of his shin has been seen. In the Victorian era, that would have got him sweating. Right now, it's going to get him knowing exactly where the CTs are, and Tessus can take that fight. Easy pick towards CT as well, and it's all going wrong. Just on Slowy in a 1v4, 10 seconds left on the clock, and the bomb's on the other side.
Oh, Slowy can't get Nikados, so he heard pitter-pattering around in Palace for the longest time. That was so many cool moments in the round from Heroic. That peek from Kixan outside of Connector was systematically and in synchronized with a peek from Nikodos from Palace. So they must have counted that down like a 3-2-1. You peek and I'll peek at the same time. So they got these 2 kills back to back, allowing Kicksan to survive. And then instead of like getting overzealous when he heard Arax and saw his shin, as you mentioned, running around the corner, just decided, screw it. If he's pushed this far, they probably called for a rotation. I'll just go straight to B site. It should be completely bereft of any CTs. Really cool moments from Heroic, showing again why they're the favorites and why these guys are pretty hyped up right now. 6-3. HAVU in trouble, but Slowy, he's picked off the first kill with the Deagle. Nikodos can trade up, however, but if he comes around this corner too aggressively and too confidently, could find himself on the receiving end of Banjo's Deagle, and we saw what Banjo could do with this weapon yesterday on Vertigo, with a couple of crazy clutches. Suddenly HAVU in a really good position, but Nertz is going to eviscerate that B defense and find out firsthand there's no one else home.
Kicksan would have to do something absolutely miraculous here to turn the script. Hits the first head. Oh, Vince, it felt like there was a timeline there where he gets going. The blood was pumping, but the follow-up shot doesn't come in, doesn't land it, doesn't deal enough damage, leaving it down to his 2 teammates. A troublesome duo here. Shush with the backup of Nertz. 44 seconds, but the bomb is planted on the lap of HAVU. They lay claim to it, and they're playing together. The body system here for the CTs, looking round towards T-spawn. Oh, they're going for the big old Mighty Max rotation, Vince. They want to completely give up control of the bomb, wrap their way back around, and go out through connector to backstab, whilst Heroic are too busy scratching their noggins, thinking they're playing towards T-spawn. This is a worldie. Brilliant play.
Yeah, they didn't have many options because of a lack of grenades and also health. But the problem with this is they have given up the plant now. They'll have the element of surprise, but Nertz hasn't been punished. And he's seen both players, so Shush has a chance now, taking quite a bit of damage, but dealing it out on Yuli as well. He needs to get this kill quick. He knows he's about to get flanked from the CT side, and Slowy is going to go straight onto the site, but he has no kit. He has to tickle it, has to try and make this a little bit of a teasing sensation for Shush. As he'll hide in the triple box, waits, and that patience will pay off. Heroic snatched the round away, but when you consider that was against Eagles, when you consider that HAVU had such little investment, to take 4 players down again and make Heroic really sweat for that is unbelievable.
That's crazy. A lot of twists and turns in that one. This is some fun CS, Vince. The game's actually a lot closer than the scoreline sort of reflects with how this is being played out, right? We're thinking back towards the opener on this one. HAVU were really in the driving seat. They had a good understanding of how to win a lot of these rounds. We're getting close. Very small thimbles between them being the one leading. Now, Heroic starting to warm up when it comes down to pointing and clicking. That's what's making the difference. Otten trades back as Kicksan loses a lot of HP in the downtime as well, but Shush good for 2. Okay, Heroic really hitting him with a battering ram, and everyone's gone, Vince. You've just got Arax left, and he doesn't know what to do with himself. Being bullied by utility here, trapped in the shop, cowering behind the shelves.
He wishes there was a few more teammates available on those shelves he could pick up and deploy, but unfortunately he is a lone wolf. It's unreal to me as well that HAVU, you give him the Eagles, God tier. Give them rifles, struggling. It's like, guys, can we maybe like reverse this around? Because if you can't get yourself any kind of stability or consistency on the CT side when it comes to these rifle rounds, like, you're going to have a really bad day at the office. And so far, that's what's happened. Arax a dead man. Nertz that puts him into his grave. 8-3 the score. I don't think that paints the full picture of how this half has gone. I think HAVU definitely would be justified in feeling like they should have another round or two, but only have themselves to blame in that regard. If you're not getting the rifles underway, you're going to struggle on the CT side. Nikodos, by the way, 14 kills and 5 assists. The man has been possessed on this half of Counter-Strike.
He really has been absolutely steamrolling. Great at the beginning. And just followed through round after round. Hasn't dropped off. Ooh, Kicksan. He wanted to drop them. Won't get the chance to. They back off after finding the initial peak towards ramp, and this is a bit of a different round here. Mid control going the way of the CTs very cleanly. Mop and bucket plays as they wipe everyone away. They know where the T's are as well. Shush reveals himself around towards ramp, and he's the only one that's left at this point. He's had some good multi-kills, Vince, but winning a round like this is going to be such a tall task. Ooh, does open it up, though. Let's see what he's got in store for us. He has a minute to work with, but the bomb is miles away.
Yeah, that is the problem, isn't it? Even if he gets a couple of quick-fire headshots, with the bomb being lost and under control, back at top mid, Arax is laid in wait. Does feel like we're going to have an 8-4 half, but maybe Shush can go in again. He got a couple of clutches so far in this half. Maybe he can add another one to the bucket. He's just currently waiting. He's hoping that someone's rotating through on the CT side, which just isn't going to happen. He's doing everything he can right now. Oh, the timing there, and he's given his position away. They definitely heard that sound. Yuli gets sprayed to the head, but Erax has him shut down from behind, and our first half will come to its conclusion. Heavily heroic focus. You can see there they started well, but they had a great mid portion of the half, and now they move across to the CT side in a fantastic shape.
Heroic. Can they take a big pistol and send themselves to the stars instantly? It looks like their opponent in the bracket has already been locked in as well. Oh, it's Fetsenko, the Estonians. Okay, Cynic would be their next team, Vince. So up against the Estonian Massive if they make it through this game. But we'll stick with the present for now. Nerds trying to make quick work as he hurts with that P2000, slaying two of them. Back up in the back line, though, as Yuli pulls into the party. And he's fragging. Okay, P250 punishment served up, Vince.
Man, Yuli's fantastic with these pistols. I've got to say, like, incredibly good with pistols. In the first round, he was great. He kicks and can deny the bomb plant. Does just that. Needs the instant headshot. It's labored. Gets punished from Yuli. Yeah, I feel like out of these 15 kills, Yuli's probably got like 7 or 8 pistol frags. Whether it's with the P250, the Deagle. He had a fantastic couple of kills in that USP round. I think the round where they made them sweat with the 4K, Yuli was involved again. This guy's pistoling is no joke. Very, very impressive. And that is going to be HAVU taking the second pistol and giving themselves the best chance to get as close as possible to their adversaries. No real investment from Heroic. They've got a HE. Maybe just stacking the mid-push.
Bit of a tank formed in the window. The wall of death, basically. Waiting for someone to come a knocking so they can strike with the pistols, but no one fancies having their hand bitten off. Ooh, Slowy's got all the info in the world. Flashbang to boot to try and back them up as well. The problem is with them stacking at middle, it's not an easy gamble on a bomb site. You can't call everyone default to B because they can fan out like they have, and they've spread themselves across the rest of the map quite quickly. So you've still got to be tentative. HAVU have to take their time clearing these angles.
We'll certainly do. Nice. Both SMGs getting a play, but Tessus comes through. Just batters them down with a couple of kills alongside Shush, I believe that was. And now Nertz with his P250 has to show Yuli that he's not the only pistol king on the server, but he's taking a lot of damage. He trades up to the Mac 10. Unfortunate, a lot of damage done, but Heroic will falter and stall, and HAVU, as they should, claim their 6th round. It's at great cost once again, though. Both teams looking sharp on those pistols. And here comes a buy from Heroic, Jacky. It's not fantastic. They would like to have maybe another rifle, maybe even an open play, but that's not going to happen. That's always the curse of the CT side economy when you lose the pistol.
Puts you in a dicey position. Things can turn on a knife's edge. Oh, the blade has been firmly inserted, though. And it's Otto that receives the brunt of the damage. Low on HP. Yuli feeling it as well as the burn will rip him to pieces. He falls alongside Slowy. And now you've already got a gargantuan lead into this round. Heroic would put themselves on a 9th if they can convert this. And with how it's being played out, it feels like it's theirs. It's in the palm of their hand. Airax is the only one with full HP to work with. It's got to be absolutely magnificent with the AK. Timing on it, Vince! Oh! Felt like a magic trick. Pulled out the Molotov from thin air. But eventually, it seems like the round will disappear.
Yeah. Oh, God. It's like the magic trick, you know, the sleight of hand. Have you ever seen Penn and Teller fool us? It's an absolute banger.
Yeah.
Fantastic. It's like someone trying to pull a magic trick, and then in the first 3 seconds, you see both Penn and Teller look at each other like, yeah, we know what he's doing. So they knew exactly. You're not fooling anyone, mate. You're just taking an AK bullet to the head. Unlucky.
I saw you slide that Molotov in before you walked out on stage.
Exactly. Such a good show, mate. I love that show so much.
It is genius. There's a really interesting episode of Wife Swap, Vince, where where Penn is on there. I remember watching that one night during COVID, kind of just exploring the realms of, you know, what TV existed at that point. It's a weird one. Wouldn't recommend it, but it does exist.
As if the fever dream wasn't bad enough, you decided to crank it up to 20. Like, okay, fair enough. I respect it, Jacky.
Yeah, you know, you got to delve. At that point, if you're in the Hurt Locker, have a rummage. You might as well.
Well, I think it's safe to say that HAVU find themselves in a similar position. Not that I would advise them to turn on Wife Swap right now, but Nikodos has picked up his 18th and 19th kills. And although it was Tech 9s and a couple of rifles thrown in the mix, it isn't really faring any better, and this is a full-on investment. Banjo trying to get through the smokes, pierce them, but Nert's on the other side. Oh, the timing a bit rough on his rotation. He just moved off his angle, but it's okay. Tessis is there to clean up. Banjo's stuck in connector. 54 HP to his name. He doesn't have the bomb. He does have time, Jacky, but he's being encircled. I don't fancy his chances.
Blood's in the water, and the sharks have sniffed it out. He really is hoping that he can just play patiently on this and be given some sort of opener. Smoke's fading now as well, so at least line of sight back towards short opens up. And Tessis, he is open. He's playing Delpan and just watching towards top middle, but it's all about the timing. If he clears bottom mid, he's going to have a free frag, and it works out wonderfully for him. Just as Banjo walks down, he realizes probably time to clear bottom mid, turns, burns, and bags the round. So Heroic, 10 on the board, 2 away from the safety net of match point, 3 away from securing this one, and moving on to that all-important best-of-3 game versus the Estonian side to make it to the closed qualifier. Heroic, big brand in Counter-Strike, a lot of big names on the current roster. First time we've seen them go international. But can they go to the closed? Ooh, will they be closing down with the nades on this one, Vince? Airstrike at top mid's ruined them.
Oh, man. That is an absolute money nade, if ever I've seen one. Yes, it's against an eco and no Kevlar, but I mean, that nade must have done 200 plus damage, Jacky. That was outrageous.
Beautiful, weren't it, bud? Just ruined them immediately. Those are the sort of nades you love when you're sat there checking the scoreboard, just going, oh, have you seen my utility damage, boys?
Oh, jeez. I mean, HAVU've had a really rough T-half, it has to be said. They won the pistol. They did get the subsequent second round, but since then, it's been all Heroic. MP7 in play, not for the first time we've seen that in the hands of Nertz. And it does still feel weird to me, Jacky, to see Heroic without Cadian. I know it's maybe a bit of an obvious thing to say, but he was Mr. Heroic for so long. Seeing a roster without him is odd, but to be fair, the roster is standing tall and showing us they have their own identity. Nikodos has been fantastic so far in this game. Tessis and Shush both have chimed in.
I'm right there with you, but it is definitely a huge change just in terms of that brand, that identity. But there's room for this Heroic roster to deal damage. I think Nertz is such a huge prospect for the future. I love a bit of Nertz. I feel like he does so much damage on the server, and he's really fun to watch. Interesting player, super smart how he approaches the game. At the minute, though, it's not about brains. It's more about brawn, and they are brutalizing everyone. The Finnish side is getting finished into the 18th, as it's just down to Erax. 1 versus 3. Outnumbered, outgunned, and they're going to play together, all of them, bombarding their way towards short. Ooh, bit of a jump spot. Kixan's been seen, but even if he commits to just go for the bomb plant, it's probably not likely he survives. They have a HE on Nertz. This could be over in the blink of an eye.
Yeah, he did everything he possibly could, you know, wiggling his way out, getting a post plant. giving his team at least a bit of a foundation with round loss bonus. They think they could afford another buy into the next, and they're going to have to, of course, because they're eyeing up 6 match points, 6 elimination points. And yeah, they have just been brute forced against. I mean, Heroic, I don't want to downplay their teamwork or their finesse and how they look to execute and protocols, but really it's just came down to the fact that their dueling has been on point here. No room for error now from HAVU, and they realize it. Tactical timeout has been utilized. They will have a buy. But I'm even thinking, like, where are the weaknesses? Where are the points that they can try and, you know, probe and exploit a little bit? And I can't really think of any. I wonder if maybe this is the time to just run and gun it and go for a straight up rush. We haven't really seen that from them. They've had a lot of aggression through mid, but I'm talking in terms of a fast set play. Is this the moment? Is this where you just run and gun it down and you decide to live or die by the sword, so to speak? Well, we're going to find out those answers, Jacky. Let's see what they do.
Very well. Seems like it probably is going to be something a bit aggressive, a bit in their face, right? If you've got so many AKs to work with and 6 rounds of potential buffer, why not throw one of them away just to break their confidence? Do something so unorthodox that you leave them guessing as well throughout the rest of the game, right? Okay, mid-push from Nerds. Love to see this. Man is naughty in these situations, but he gets ratioed, Vince. Shut down. Won't matter as Tessa's tackles too. And brings us back into Heroic potentially winning the game right here, right now. And Shush silences them. It's all on Slowy. And he's got to be feeling the weight of the world on his shoulders, Vince. An impossible task, surely.
Yeah, you'd really think so. These clutches really have not got away the phases. To make matters worse, he was trying to jump into the window and instead just craters, snaps his ankle. Have to be limping the rest of this round as if it wasn't hard enough. I mean, the guy is jacked, by the way. I don't know if you've seen his profile picture. Guy is definitely built. So maybe he can just come out there and slap a couple of fools around a little bit. Don't know, he's on 7 kills. Maybe it's just not his day. Maybe he's forgot the pre-workout. Doesn't have the protein in the shake. And he's giving his position away. It's looking very rough indeed. And as if it wasn't bad enough, they're like, listen, we're going to put a smoke down. We're just vibing. Like, you come to us. All the pressure is on your shoulders here, Chief.
Must feel like Atlas right now. Holding that big old globe up on the shoulders, bud. It's really, really horrific for him. 30 seconds. At a certain point, you kind of just got to gamble on, okay, as soon as the smoke dissipates, just walk through the ramp, take the fights. If I win the round, huge. If I don't, did the best I could into this game. Close affair between these two for the first half, but as it's gone on, Heroic have really blossomed. And that's what Nikados does. Shuts it down. 22 kills to his name, Vince. Big